Okay, Bob. So you are now streaming live, and I've made Phil co-host and you host.
Great, thank you.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too, bye-bye.
Is this your last class today?
I'm sorry?
Is this your last class today?
Actually, it's my only class today, Phil.
Oh, really? I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, actually, this is my first time seeing you today.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep. No, I just had one today. I've got 4 scheduled for tomorrow, and I think 3 or 4 on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So let's see, when tomorrow, yeah, I've got 4 tomorrow and 3 tomorrow, Wednesday. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna admit everybody.
Right, right. So people are coming in. I'll just be in the background then.
Okay, thanks, Phil. And I'm gonna start recording. Hello, everyone, as you start to join us for our Windows 10 basics class to learn all about some of the things that are important to know about Windows 10. Hi, Leona, how are you? We're just meeting and greeting right now and saying hi to people. Hi, Louise, how are you? It's still sunny where you are. You must be on the West Coast.
Just the Fraser Valley.
Okay. All right. Hi, Dixie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Hello, Nancy, RG, Beth, Pearl, Karen. Okay. Just getting everybody logging in right now, and we'll get started with a few slides. I like your virtual background, Pat.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So I'm Bob Cohen. I'm going to be your host for Windows 10 Basics, and starting to recognize a few people that have been in some of my classes before. And I'll wait another minute, and then I'll start with some introductory slides. And we'll get started on exploring Windows 10 and learning more about it. Okay, it's a lot of times people aren't sure what they're doing in Windows, and we'll show you some tricks that might help you out a little bit, okay? And some getting oriented, getting to know your way around a computer a little bit more.
I don't know anything about Windows 10, so I'm trying to learn.
Is that you, Nancy?
Yes,
Okay. What are you using now to get on Zoom?
7.
Windows 7. Okay. Okay. That's a little bit older. I mean, Windows 10's been out for about 5 years.
I know, I want to get a new computer and I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the best way to get Windows is when you buy it with a new computer pre-installed. So that's a good thing to wait for. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Let me pull up a few things. Let me pull up a presentation here. That would help. And we'll get started with something. While I'm getting set up here, think about things that you are hoping to learn better about your computer and Windows 10 in particular. Now, there's a lot of things that computers do, and so we'll try and narrow it down just to Windows 10 things, but we'll talk a little bit about what your computer is and maybe help you understand a little bit more about it, okay? Okay, so let me share some slides here to get started with our presentation. Windows 10 Basics. Okay, so even if you know, hopefully you know how to use a mouse and a keyboard already. And so that helps to be able to use a computer. And when you know how to use those things, you have the ability to use a computer. But the computers are a lot of different things. I'm going to move something around here. There we go. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm Bob Cohen. For those of you that have had me in, teaching classes before, I live in Seal Beach, California. I was born in Chicago. I came out to the West Coast when I went to college, and I ended up working in the technology industry. And about 2009, 2007, I started teaching adults how to use technology. The class was how to keep yourself safe on your computer. And what most people wanted to know was how to keep their computer from slowing down, oddly enough. So we changed the class a little bit. And then as people asked more questions, I started offering more and more classes. And I teach through Get Set Up and a couple of other venues as well. And I'm going to hope, I enjoy making technology easier for people to understand, okay? If you know about Get Set Up, you know that it's one of the few places on the web where you can take a class with a live instructor. You can request a recording. We are recording after class. You can email help@getsetup.io. Phil posted something in chat. Phil is our TA. He's here to help with anything you might need during the session in terms of working with Zoom or working with Get Set Up. And if you're joining by live stream, we encourage you to come to the getsetup.io class and website rather, and join us and register for a class. And just so you know, we're not paid to promote specific products, okay? So what's our agenda for today look like? Okay, so our agenda is basically going to take a look at what is Windows 10. Oh, I got to make that a better color so we can see it better. Let me do this bright red here. What is Windows 10? That you can see. Okay, we're going to learn our way around the desktop, the start menu, and the taskbar. I'll show you how to check on your computer security. We'll talk about starting and closing applications and doing a few things that you might not know are possible to do in Windows 10, like using the right-click mouse button and searching and a few other things. So I'm just curious if there's people that have anything specific they're hoping to get answered about Windows 10. And I'm going to use my low-tech note-taking application, which is called a pen and paper, to write down any questions you might have. Anybody have anything they're hoping to learn about Windows 10 today? Or is it, because sometimes like you just don't know what to ask, and that's okay too. I'm seeing some people shaking their heads up and down, is that you wonder what is it you need to ask and you don't know what you should know in the first place, right? And so I saw Hiroko posted something that she normally uses a Mac, but she wants to learn Windows 10. That's an interesting challenge because a Mac works pretty well, Hiroko. Have you been using Mac for a long time, Hiroko?
Yes, but then a couple of members of my family, like grandchildren, etc., some are using Windows, and I have to be able to know. I used to know, but I was converted to Mac a couple of years ago, and I forgot.
Oh, okay. And
So I'm total stranger, but then I cannot say I'm very efficient.
okay. Well, it's a challenge to learning both. It's like learning two languages. They will do everything you need to do on a computer. It's just they sometimes do things a little bit differently. And so Pat's saying, I don't know what to ask, but from Windows 7 to 10, it's been so long since I've used Windows 7. I don't know if I remember what's different anymore, but if I show you some things in Windows 10, maybe you can help me understand, because I don't really know what the differences are anymore. Can't get the Gmail icon. Don't like the basic browser. Okay. All right, that's a good question, Helen. We'll take a look at someplace called the Microsoft Store and see if we can find Chrome on that, for you if you like using Chrome. And some things come built into Windows and people like them, and some things, some people don't. It's kind of like buying a house that's furnished. You may like the furniture, you may not, but you can still change it out if you want to. Okay, so let me show a few more slides here that will help you understand a little bit. How do you create icons on the desktop? Good questions. Okay. All right. Okay, so people are, what is an operating system? I don't know if you had this question on your mind or not, but it's probably one that helps to understand, is that an operating system is a piece of software. And I don't know if any of you like cake or pastries, but you know how there's this thing called a layer cake? Operating systems are to computers what the middle layer of a layer cake is to a 3-layer cake. And you're saying, okay, Bob is really going off on this one, right? Well, maybe I have. Well, at the bottom layer, imagine that's your hardware, the physical computer, the piece you pick up and carry around. And it's a piece of hardware. It's got a keyboard, it's got a mouse, it's got a display, it's got a CPU, a processor in it, it's got some storage in it. And it's really not very useful without something called software. It's like having food in your pantry and not knowing how to cook or make anything up with it. And so you'd have food, you wouldn't starve, but if you didn't know how to toast a slice of bread or put peanut butter and jelly together in a sandwich or boil water, you wouldn't survive, you'd starve. And so the hardware is just there, but it doesn't do anything without the cook. And think of the operating system as the middle layer or the cook, okay? Apple makes them. Apple makes the Mac OS, which runs on Apple Macs hardware. Microsoft makes Windows 10, which runs on hardware made by a lot of different people. So when you're buying a Windows computer, it could have been made by somebody other than Microsoft. Microsoft does make computers, but they also sell the operating system to people that can install it. And when you buy a computer at the store or through online, you get it with an operating system installed on it. Our Android phones and iPhones have operating systems. There's also this thing called the Chrome OS, which is used on Chromebooks. Now, the purpose of the middle layer, I'm not sure why my mouse does that, but every so often I'll tap my mouse and a slide will advance. So I'm sorry about that. The middle layer of a layer cake separates the top layer from the bottom layer, right? That's what it does. It separates it. Well, it adds more cake too, but its purpose is to separate the top layer from the bottom layer. And an operating system does the same thing on computers. So you see, if you know how to make a cake, you know a lot about computers already because you know what middle layers do. They separate things. And so the operating system separates the applications from the hardware. So in between the applications and the hardware is the operating system. The operating system communicates to your display, your keyboard, your mouse, your speakers, your processor, your hard drive. That's what an operating system does. And it works all the time when you're using your computer. So some operating systems have some built-in applications. I think, Aline mentioned she didn't like the browser that's included with Windows 10. That's okay. But Microsoft, Apple, and Google Chromebooks all include a web browser built in. A web browser is an application, but they also include some other things like a calculator, a calendar, an email app, and things like that. These are applications that are the top layer but sometimes they're included in the operating system so that at least out of the box, you have some basic tools to use on your computer, but you don't have to use the ones that are included. You can always download and install other ones if you want to. So that's what an operating system. So if somebody asks you what an operating system is, you can tell them it's like the middle layer of a layer cake. You know, it sits on top of the hardware and applications sit on top of the operating system. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Okay.
Got a couple of questions here though.
Yeah, Phil, I'm looking at the questions. Some of the things I see in here are differences. Gmail icon, we're going to get to that, the Gmail icon when we look at the Microsoft store. And we're
Okay,
going to
perfect.
look at creating icons on the desktop when we learn how to customize the desktop a little bit.
All right then. Thank you.
Trust me, if I see questions, I know I'm going to answer. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I'm going to cover them a little bit later because it makes a little more sense in terms of.
Okay, gotcha.
Thanks. Okay, so your desktop is for your convenience, and it's something that you use when you wake up your computer. What you see on your screen is your desktop. It has a background. It has something called a taskbar. It has a start menu. It has tiles and it has a search box. We're going to look at these things on my desktop so you can see where they are and things you might not have taken advantage of or been afraid to click on so that we can work with them. Your mouse or trackpad has a left and a right click. So in the upper left, if you click on it, it's called a left click. And that's usually used to select something. So if you move your mouse around and you want to select something, you would left click. But you may not have used it as often, but you can click in the upper right, and that will display options in almost every way possible with almost everything. And I'll show you some things even on your desktop you can do with the right click option. Applications run in Windows. Okay, so Windows is the name that Microsoft gave its operating system because every time you open up an application, it opens up a little window on your desktop. And the application runs inside the window. Now, you can resize a window. They've got controls in the upper right for minimizing, resizing, and closing an app. But you can have more than one window open at a time. That's been consistent ever since the first Windows operating system that Microsoft came out with. And just in case you're wondering, Macs also use a Windows style of operating system. They just don't call it Windows. When you open up an application on a Mac, you are opening up a window on your Mac desktop. So that's similar. And when you open up a window on Windows 7, it's the same style of computing as on Windows 10. So that's very similar and very comfortable for people to get used to using. Any questions about that? Okay. Some basic operations. We'll talk about powering down and sleep. Okay. And we'll take a look at searching and what searching can do for you and a few other things that are on the taskbar, okay? Because they're really convenient tools. You just may never have taken advantage of them. All right. So any questions before we take a look at my Windows desktop? Okay. All right. So let's take a look at my desktop and I'll show you around a few things and we'll talk about where you can get some things. Now, like I say, I don't know exactly what's different between Windows 7 and Windows 10, but on Windows 10, this big background picture is your background. You might have some icons on your desktop. You have a taskbar. And the taskbar has a lot of functions on it. It has some status indicators like the time and the day. It has the volume indicator for how loud your speakers are. It has an internet status indicator. If you have a laptop, it shows you your battery charge. It tells you if you're using OneDrive, if it's up to date. If you use Office or Microsoft 365, you have a Meet Now icon. Now I'm going to look at this little arrow in a minute. Let's go further left here a little bit. These icons here are icons that are located in the taskbar for quick access. So if I want to get to something very quickly, I don't have to go searching for it or find where it is. It's right in my taskbar. We'll talk about these two icons in a minute. Here's our search box, and here's the Windows Start button. You might have a key on your keyboard. That's the Windows button. When Microsoft went from Windows 7 to Windows 8, one of the things they did was they eliminated the Start button. And so they changed how it works. Now they brought it back. So when you click on the Start button, you open up the Start menu. And it's what most people do when they start using their computer. So they want to start something up. So when you click on the Start menu, you have some quick access tools right here. We're going to take a look at that, Pat. Thanks for asking. And you see how these settings, there are a few things. So let me take a look at power. Some people wonder if they should ever put their computer to sleep or shut down or restart. Well, shutting down powers off your computer completely. And sleeping just puts your computer to sleep and kind of puts it in a state of suspended animation. And that's really a good thing to do most of the time with a computer, because Microsoft automatically Windows will automatically go and check with Microsoft to see if there's an update available for Windows, and then download it and install it automatically. And keeping your operating system up to date is one of the important things for security reasons. So leaving it to go to sleep is good, or putting it to sleep when you're done with the day, let it sleep overnight. And you really only have to shut it down when if you want to save power, but it uses very little power when it's asleep, or if you want to move it, or you're traveling with a laptop as an example. You can also click restart. Sometimes if people are having problems with their computer, sometimes restarting it fixes it, because it saves everything, but then it reloads the operating system back into the memory of the computer. So it starts off with a clean version of the operating system after you restart it. But normally you just would leave it to go to sleep. Okay. So that's one of the things in the Start menu, is those quick things. There's some quick access to settings. We do a class all about Windows 10 settings that if you want to learn more, that's helpful. And you can quickly access pictures and documents, two common areas that you go to. Okay. The middle column is a list of all the applications on your computer, and the right column is those applications in what's called a tile view. The reason tiles exist is that some Microsoft Windows laptops have a touch screen, and tiles are much easier to touch with your finger than they are with a mouse icon. And so that's easier to work with. That's why they have tiles. It's just another way to get to them if you want to. In the middle column here is an alphabetical list of any application you have. So they have others. I've installed Google Chrome on mine, and so I have Google Chrome listed. Some of these come standard from Microsoft with Windows: Groove Music, Mail, Maps, Microsoft Edge, Microsoft News, and the Microsoft Store. And so there's a couple of things. We're going to take a look at the store. Okay, so if I used an application often, like say the calculator, and I wanted to just start it, I could go to the Start menu, find calculator in the list, and left click on it, and it starts up calculator. Okay. So if you notice, calculator ended up here on my taskbar. Any application you are working with and have an open window will also display an icon in your taskbar. If I close calculator, it goes away from the taskbar. Now, a couple of people asked, how do you put icons around different places? Well, this is where the right click button comes in handy. So if I go to start and I go to calculator, instead of left clicking, I'm going to right click. And I can do a few things here. Now, I have it in my tiles here. I'm going to unpin it from my tiles and it disappears. If I right click and I say, pin it to start, it puts it here. At this point, I think, if I remember I did it last time, I can drag it to my desktop and now it is an icon on my desktop if I want it. It's still in the alphabetical list. It's just that instead of here in the tiles, it's right on my desktop. So I know Louise said that's how you create icons on your desktop. Whenever you have an application open, let's try it another way, because sometimes there's multiple ways to do this. If I don't like it there, I can unpin it I can delete the icon. I'm not deleting the application, but I'm getting rid of it here. So let's try this another way. If I go to calculator and I start calculator, here it is in my taskbar. If I right click on it, I have the ability to pin it to the taskbar now. So if I pin it to the taskbar, even if I close it, it stays there. So that's how you can move icons. Remember, right clicking or dragging and dropping will oftentimes do it. I don't know if I can drag and drop this to my desktop, but let's try, okay? If I drag this, no, it won't open it. But if I have it open, will it let me do anything? No. So I have to get it from here to the start menu. So when I go here to start, and if I pin it to, if I put it in start, where did it go? It disappeared. So it went down here. Okay, I can drag this with my mouse and move it around. So once it's here in the start menu, then I can drag it to my desktop and it'll be an icon on my desktop. So whatever application you have, so I have Google Chrome here, and I can open up Chrome as a browser if I want to. And but I also have it in my taskbar. So if I want to, I can click on my Chrome in my taskbar. But if I want to remove it from the taskbar, I just have to right click and I can unpin it anytime I want to from my taskbar, and it's taken out of there automatically. If I want to put it back in, I would go to the start menu. I would find Google Chrome. I would right click, and then I can go to more. And if I click on more, what does it give me? Why is it? There we go. I can pin it to the taskbar. So right clicking will give you these options, or dragging and dropping will give you these options. A lot of things in Windows 7 didn't drag and drop, if I remember correctly. But right clicking is always something you can do. Okay, so and so you can customize the taskbar with applications that you want to get to quickly, so that you don't have to go to the start menu and scroll through it all the time. You can just find it right in your taskbar if you use it very often. Any questions about that? Okay, let's take a look at some of these other icons here. This little circle right here in the bottom of the taskbar, it's usually installed standard with Windows. It's called Cortana. Okay, Hiroko, you're in New York City, is that right? Okay, so I want to find out what the weather is where Hiroko is. I click on Cortana, and I can talk to Cortana by clicking on the microphone here. And it says, speak to Cortana. What's the weather in New York City?
Right now, it's raining and 47 in New York. The
Okay,
forecast shows rain with a high of 51 and a low of 43.
there you go. So Cortana is Microsoft's built-in artificial intelligence assistant. And it's a little bit like Siri on your iPhone, if you have that, or a little bit like talking to Google if you have Google Home, or a little bit like the Amazon assistant. I have an Amazon assistant next to me on my desk, so I can't say her name, otherwise she'll wake up. But Cortana is built in. So if you were doing something, I was measuring my head for a new bicycle helmet, and I have so I cut a piece of string, put it around my forehead, my head, marked it, measured it out, and it measured 22 inches. And all of the bike helmets that were sold were in centimeters. And so I had to convert inches to centimeters. So I said, how many centimeters is 22 inches?
22 inches is 55.88 centimeters.
See, so Cortana is now, I don't know who's ever had a dog. Anybody ever have a dog? Okay. So if you've taken your dog to obedience training, one obedience training, instructor said, we're not here to train the dog. We're here to train the owner. I don't know if you ever heard that or not, but working with these artificial intelligence assistants is a little bit like that, is that sometimes they answer things really well. Sometimes they don't. Okay. So I can say to her, Cortana, I can ask Cortana, open the PowerPoint application.
All right. I'll open PowerPoint.
Oh, she did it. Okay. But I've asked her to do things before and she's said, I don't understand it. So sometimes she's really useful. So if you wanted to open up an application, you don't even have to go to the start button. You could just ask Cortana to do it for you if you wanted. So I'm going to close PowerPoint here. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to close Cortana.
Cortana's on all Windows 10.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Windows 10 has all Windows 10 has Cortana.
Windows 10 comes standard with Cortana. Yes. Hiroko, you have your hand up.
So Cortana and Alexa and Siri, are they all the same? Do they function in the same fashion?
They're
all in place, all those kind of automatic secretary or
they do work in very similar manners. They're technically called artificial intelligence.
yeah.
Yes. Whether they're good assistants are up to you to decide. Okay. But they are free, they're included, and they will help you with many things you might not have expected them to be able to do. So if you can ask Cortana a question about almost anything to do with Microsoft or Windows, and she will find an answer for you typically for that. It's just a tool. It's built into Windows. It's part of what you paid for when you bought Windows from Microsoft. Okay, so it's just but I know a lot of people are afraid to click on an icon if they don't know what it is, because they're worried something might break or they might not be able to get back to what they were doing. Okay, so don't be afraid to click on Cortana. Okay, and try it out. Try it out. So I mean, I don't know whether Cortana can do a lot of things. Like, she can help me with things like if I ask her, remember, you got to click on the microphone. You can type in an answer too. So where is pizza nearby? Okay. and she'll search the web and tell me what pizza is nearby. Okay, so she'll show me more if I want to, or I can, say, when's my next appointment, or can you look up something on the web, or when's the next basketball game, or whatever you're interested in. So, but you can talk to her. She's part of Windows and she's built into Windows. Okay. Interesting little icon. The next icon next to the little Cortana circle is called Task View. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I forget exactly what I might have been doing, a week ago. If I do a lot of different things, somebody says, "Hey, Bob, let's get that, PowerPoint presentation, that you were working on a week ago up to date." And I'll say, "Well, which one was that?" The one we were looking at, last week. Well, I don't remember what I was doing last week. Maybe you folks are better, but sometimes I forget. So this little icon here with like two pieces of a window shutting together, it's called Task View. Task View pulls up what you've been doing the last 30 days on your computer. Your computer just keeps track of, okay, here's Cortana. Here's on April 7th, I was working with Windows themes and I was in the Microsoft store. And on April 6th, I was working on some PowerPoints and a few other things. On April 5th, I was watching Netflix. And if you look on the right, there's a little sliding dot here that I can click on and drag up and down. Okay.
Bob, where is this? I'm not seeing, it's too small for me to see what it looks like. You said it's two windows that are split?
In the taskbar to the right of the Cortana circle should be a little two little rectangles with a little dot next to them. Okay, and now every manufacturer ships Windows out a little bit differently, but this is called Task View. If you don't see it, you can always search for it too. The search box lets you type in something called Task View, and you can see it here by opening up Task View. Okay, so sometimes the manufacturer might have taken it out of the information, out of the taskbar, but it's there. So it's a task view that you can look at whenever you want to see it. So like I say, sometimes people have, manufacturers, sometimes they've customized the taskbar a little bit. Now, if my taskbar is too small, I can right click on it and I can change it to, I can go to taskbar settings and I can change the size of my icons. How do I do that? Now, these icons are a little smaller because I use a small screen, but even normally it can be even made smaller, which doesn't help at all. Now, if I want to make them a little bit bigger, I can change it in another setting. Okay, there is a setting, and let me go do that. Okay, right here in settings, called display. And if I want to make everything bigger, I can select scale and layout, and I can enlarge everything to a little bit larger view for you. Okay, so now my icons are bigger, but also my desktop icons are bigger, and usually my text might be bigger as well. So some things might not fit, but they're all there. So that's a little easier to see. So if you don't see this task view, it might be because the manufacturer of your computer changed it a little bit. That's what's in there. but it's available to you if you need it.
Thank
Now-
you.
Sure. Somebody asked about Google Chrome and Google Mail. Microsoft and Google are competitors. So Microsoft always doesn't make it easy to download Google apps, but sometimes they do. So where do you find apps for your desktop, for your computer? Well, you find them in something called the Microsoft Store. If I click on the Start button, and I go up this list of applications, one of them is the Microsoft Store. So I'm going to open up the Microsoft Store. The Microsoft Store is a store for applications for Windows 10. Okay. They have some common ones here. They have gaming. A lot of people play games on their PCs. Entertainment. Somebody said, gee, where do I find Amazon Prime? Well, you can find it in the entertainment apps, or productivity apps are available as well. It's run by Microsoft, so they do promote, tend to view, show Microsoft apps. I don't know if Google Chrome is available in the App Store. So let's search. There's a search button here. And I'm going to search for Chrome. And it's not. You don't see Google Chrome. I see some help applications and other things like that. So in this case, I would need to go to the Google Chrome website and download the application to my computer, and then it will install. So keep in mind that some applications, I think Zoom is the same way. If you want to install Zoom on your computer, you have to install it from the zoom.us website. But the Microsoft Store is there as a resource for you to utilize. Now,
may I say something?
Yeah.
So I obviously was able to download Chrome, and I don't remember which right-clicking and how I did it, but I do have the Chrome icon on the desktop and on the task thing. But what I tried to do was to be able to get Gmail, and even trying to download it from places, I could never get a picture that looks like the Gmail icon. So I have to go to Chrome to click Gmail in there to get the mail that way. So they have places on Windows 10 for mail, and on your taskbar, you have one of those envelopes.
There's a mail app.
And apparently I found a second one. So I now have two envelopes at the bottom, and it does bring in my Gmail. It looks different, but it's been very confusing trying to figure this part out.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in using, I don't know if Gmail has an app for Windows 10 separate. I don't know, maybe Phil, can you check that out for us to see if there's a separate Gmail app? Because I've almost always gone to Gmail on my desktop from the browser, the Chrome browser.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's, now I'm not 100% sure about that, but maybe Phil might be able to help us out during class here, okay? And if not, we can take a look at the end of class and see if there is. But I don't think there's a Gmail app for iPhones. There's a Gmail app for Android, but I don't know if there's a specific Gmail app for the desktop. I think you're supposed to use Gmail within Chrome, which is why you can't find it, anywhere, I suspect. But yes, the mail app that's included in Microsoft's Windows 10 will allow you to connect to any mail you use. So you can connect Gmail to it, or Yahoo, or Hotmail, or Microsoft's mail, or other things like that. But if you use Gmail, I suspect you'll probably just be using it mostly through the Chrome browser. Okay, so a couple of other things. If you're searching for something, Microsoft will include the Edge browser with your Windows 10 operating system. Okay, so when you search, you can search your computer. Microsoft also owns a search service called Bing, which is equivalent to Google, but you may prefer to use Google search or something else. But the search box here is very versatile. It's meant to do a number of different things. It'll search, if I click on it, it'll search for a lot of things. It'll search for things I've looked at recently. It'll search in my settings. It'll search in my files. It'll search photos. It'll show calculator. And I can narrow the search down to apps or documents by clicking along the top, or to the web, or I can narrow my search to email, folders, music, people, photos, settings, or videos. So it's possible for me to narrow down a search. So if I wanted to search for, say, a book I know I have in here called Molly, okay, and here's a file folder on Molly, and here's chapter 10 revision. It shows me anything with Molly, including the psychoactive drug, right? I didn't know I'd get that, but that, you know, so it'll search the web. But if I just wanted to search documents, if I click this, it just shows me the documents on this PC that have the word Molly in the title of the document. So I can search for an application. So I don't know if I have an application, but if I'm looking for an application like, I think there's a snip and sketch tool in Windows, a snipping tool that's included. So I can just type in snip and it'll bring up what it thinks I might be looking for, not only on the web, but on my computer. Now, the bad part about this search is that it will always use Bing for searching. It won't use Google. So that's both good and bad, because, you know, some people prefer one or the other. But it'll let you search along anywhere in your computer. And like I say, you can search in email, folders, music, other things. So there's no results for snip in my music. And I'd suspect that's the case. So I think I have, in music, I think I have something called Ocean, but I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, I have. So it shows all things ocean, cruises, other things that might be here. And I can open these results in the browser if I want to. That'll open it up in a Bing, in the Edge browser. Okay, so that's search. Let's check security, one icon here. Okay, so let me see how we're doing on quiz. Is there a class on Cortana? No, there isn't. It would be interesting. Okay, good idea though, Janet. How do you assign an app icon to the taskbar? Put apps on the desktop. Google. Okay, I'm just checking questions. Right, I think we're all caught up. If I miss something, please let me know. Okay, because I don't want to. I want to try and answer what I can for you. Okay, so I can get to Windows security two ways. I might have a hidden icon. This little up arrow here. Is Chrome going out? No, Chrome is very popular. It's in fact, to let you know on a technology secret, Microsoft actually buys the underlying technology for their web browser from Google. It's called Chromium, you know, for lack of a better word. Okay, and Google sells it. They sell it to Microsoft and they sell it to Apple, and so the underlying technology is used by many of them. Okay, so I clicked on this little arrow and you see a little security icon here. That
When you say underlying technology, what kind of technology are you?
It's software code. Okay, so what happens is that Chrome is built on top, the Chrome browser is built on top of the Chromium software. So the way it looks on the desktop, but the underlying code that makes up roughly 50–60% of the web browser software is called Chromium, and then Google makes it available as Chrome, but Microsoft uses Chromium as part of Edge, and Apple uses Chromium as part of Safari. There's a lot of trading and bartering that goes on between these tech companies that we don't see on the surface.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so you see this little security icon, sometimes it's in the hidden icons button, sometimes it's very visible. It'll open up Windows security, and it'll show me security at a glance. Windows out of the box comes with a built-in security and antivirus tool. It's called, Windows Defender. It's built into Windows 10. So even if you don't install anything else, your computer is secure. And what'll happen is if something goes wrong and something's not protected, this little icon, instead of showing a green checkbox, it'll show a red X, and it'll show up right in your taskbar to get your attention. So whether you have Windows security from Microsoft or whether you purchase something else, it doesn't matter. It'll tell you whether you're protected or not. So it'll show you security at a glance. And if everything's checked off green, or it says no action needed, it's good. It's good. It's all secure and protected. So right out of the box, Windows 10 includes built-in antivirus and anti-malware protection. Another setting is called Windows Update. Now I'm going to type in search here. I'm going to type in Windows Update, and it immediately goes up and says, check for updates in system settings. I don't even have to know where it is. I can just say open, or I can click on this. Either one works. So I'm going to open it up, and it's going to open up Windows Update in settings. And it says last checked, you're up to date. Last check today, 3:23 p.m. I'm on Pacific time. Okay. I can check for updates. And this is why it's good to let your computer go to sleep, because when your computer goes to sleep, Windows will check for updates and automatically install them for you. That's generally what happens when our devices go to sleep, is that they do those little background tasks for us. So just from searching, you can find useful things that you might not know where to find otherwise. And in the Windows 10 settings class, we go into many of these settings. Now, if I wanted to have my calculator window open, and if I wanted to have my Cortana window open at the same time, I can drag them windows around by clicking on the top bar. There's a little top section here of this window that I can drag around, and I can move it, and I can even grab a corner and I can make it bigger. So if I wanted to have, say, a web browser and my email side by side, or a calendar and my email side by side, I can have two windows open at the same time, filling up my desktop. Or if I want to make them smaller, I can make them smaller if I want to. And
what happens when you open two kinds of things and one is hidden behind the other? How do you get the one that's hidden out?
Like that, huh? Okay. So there's two ways to do it. One is, well, actually, there's probably half a dozen, but I know of two. One is to grab the window that you are looking at and just move that to the side with your mouse. Another is to, I think this will work, is to click on the other window, and that'll bring it forward automatically, and click on it in your taskbar. Because remember, every open window puts a little icon in your taskbar, and if it's underlined, that means it's active. So you can just, I don't know why Cortana didn't do it, but if I opened up, say, PowerPoint, PowerPoint will be underlined here. So now PowerPoint's covering up my calculator, Where did my calculator go? I just click on the calculator and it brings the calculator forward. So there's always a lot of ways to do things. Louise has a good question. Should you set your computer to update automatically? Well, the good news is, Louise, you don't have to do anything and it will do it for you. Windows Update, if I go here and I type in Windows Update and I open it up, it is set up automatically to go out and update your computer without any action on your part. So it's going to do it during when it thinks you're not active. So my computer active hours are set for 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's going to do it. If I just leave it asleep, I don't even have to put it to sleep. Most computers will kind of go to sleep on their own, and then they'll update on their own automatically. So it's great. Would it be better to have? Well, here's the thing. Microsoft and Apple and Google and every technology company says the best way to keep your computer secure is to update your software. And so I trust them a little bit more than I trust myself to fight, hackers. And so they're doing it to try and keep you safe. Okay. And so I would trust them for their updates. It might, their critical updates are going to get installed automatically because they're fixing bugs and they're helping solve some problems. So, wow, we've covered a lot of things on Windows 10. Hopefully, we've made it a little bit easier for you to navigate around. Let me check. Is there any question that I haven't gotten to, or anybody that has another question now before we wrap things up a little bit? Oh, good. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so I do a couple of other classes, and it gets up. We're expanding our classes for Windows and Microsoft apps all the time. I'm going to be doing a class on Windows 10 settings, but today we looked at Windows 10. Windows comes with pre-installed on all computers. That's the best way to buy it. I don't recommend people upgrade anymore because you've got at least a 5-year-old computer if you're not using Windows 10. RG Duval, yes, we do a PowerPoint Basics class. In fact, I do it. So if you join us for that, there's classes on Word, there's classes on Excel. I'm putting together a class introducing people to Microsoft 365, which is what they used to call Office. If you are used to using those applications, but they've added a lot of things to it. I recommend the class on OneDrive Basics. There's another class on Windows shortcuts that just is out now that'll help you out as well. And again, I do the one on 10 settings. I'm doing one on Zoom virtual background for beginners. That seems like it's always popular with people. And I see some people that have gotten some virtual backgrounds that have been in my classes before. So I hope I helped out with that. And you can request a recording. So Helen had a question here. I'm going to send you an email with some notes. She couldn't print it out. So printing things is a little tricky sometimes. Chrome, Microsoft has a built-in printer function in Windows 10. So depending on, particularly with sewing and quilting patterns and things like that, they're laid out so that things have to print out on particular pages and particular scales. Those are challenges to print, I know, so that if somebody's familiar with how to make adjustments to printing with the Chrome browser, because Chrome includes a print function called Google Print, they might have the settings for you in that. Okay. So Dixie, thank you for joining. I hope we you know, you get the email in a few minutes, hopefully, and you know, give us some feedback. Let us know how things work. Dixie, thanks, appreciate it. Kathleen, Nancy, Hiroko, good to see you all, and some other faces. RG, good to see you again. And I'll be doing 4 classes tomorrow, so maybe I'll see you on one of my classes tomorrow. Okay. So thank you for joining. You know, if you're interested in getting more involved with Get Set Up, we do have members that can host just an interest group on casual interests. If you'd like to see a class, thank you for putting in notes, but you know, feedback as well, and you know, share ideas and anything you might be interested in, let us know about. We'll be happy to take a look at it. And thanks for joining me today, this afternoon, or this evening, if it's your evening. And we hope to see you again. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all. Have a good day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.